So today is Ramananda Roy's disappearance day. So we're going to start with singing the prayers of the departed Vaishnavas. Sasparsada Gora Vihara Vipala. It's the last page of the book, very last page of the songbook. Ye anilo premadana Koruna pracho Ye anilo premadana Koruna pracho Hey no Prabhu Kota Gela Charya Thakur Kahamora Swara Prupa Kahasanatan Kahasanatan Kahadasa Raghunatha Patita Pavan Kahamora Bhatta Yuga Kavira Tata Yuga Kavira Ekakate Kulagela Goranata Raj Asane Kutibo Matha Anale Pasibo Kutibo Matha Anale Pasibo Goranga Gunire Niji Kota Gele Prabhu Se Saba Sangira Sange Ye Koilo Bila Sangira Sange Se Sangana Paya Kande Narotama Das Samada Ye Anilo Premadana Koruna Pacho Premadana Koruna Pacho Heno Prabhu Gota Gela Charya Thakur Gela He who brought the treasure of divine love and who was filled with compassion and mercy, where is such a personality as Srinivas Acharya gone? Where are my Shrup Damodar and Rupa Goswami? Where is Sanatan? Where is Raghunath Das, the savior of the fallen? Where is my Raghunath Bhatta and Gopal Bhatta? And where is Krishnadas Kaviraj? Where did Lord Gauranga, the great dancer, suddenly go? I will smash my head against the rock and enter into the fire. Where will I find Lord Gauranga, the reservoir of all wonderful qualities? Being unable to obtain the association of Lord Gauranga, accompanied by all these devotees in whose association he performed his pastime, Narottam Das simply weeps. So, as mentioned, today is the disappearance day of Ramananda Roy. And so we will be discussing his pastimes. Almost all of it comes from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, some from the Chaitanya Bhagavat, but there's quite a bit. One of the most famous chapters we'll discuss is chapter 8 of Madhya Lila, where he has a discussion with Lord Chaitanya. So we hope to get through all of this information. So his personality is described with there are two. This is kind of interesting because we wind up having like 4 different personalities as supposed to, as we'll read here, in different places. You know, that who he is or who he's emulating or who he's possessed by, or because when you look at somebody like these personalities, you know, who does he remind you of? You know, who do you think he is? You know, Lord Chaitanya asked Srivas Thakur, who do you think Advaita Acharya is? And he says, well, I think he's probably Prahlad. And then Lord Chaitanya picked up a stick, you know, like a bamboo fishing pole, and was going to hit him with it. You know, you think my Acharya is Prahlad? You know, so we have there's different perceptions. So there are 2 Arjunas in Krishna Lila. One is a Priyanarma Shaka in Vraja, and the other one is one of the Pandavas. These 2 combine to become Ramananda Roy, the dear companion of Mahaprabhu. He was very knowledgeable in the teachings of loving devotion to Radha and Krishna, which he described to Gaurachandra on a daily basis. Some people say that Ramachandra Roy was Lalita Shaki, while others do not. This is all from the Gaura Ganadesh Dipika. You know. Mahaprabhu himself told Bhavananda Roy that he was Pandu, the husband of Kunti, the father of the Pandavas. The Pandava, Arjun, also united with the Gopi, Arjuniya. Thus, the most aware say that Ramananda Roy combined all these 3 personalities. Proof of this is found in the Padma Purana, where it is stated that the Pandava Arjun became the Gopi Arjuniya. And this is Gaura Ganadesh Dipika 120 through 124. Okay, so as is stated in these verses in the Gaura Ganadesh Dipika, some people hold that Ramananda Roy was an incarnation of Lalita. Some others are of the opinion that he was Vishaka. In his commentary in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya chapter 8, text 23, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes, the same love which Vishaka had for Radha and Krishna in Vraja, and that love which Radha and Krishna had for Vishaka awakened in them when they met. Thus it is clear that Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur saw Ramananda Roy as Vishaka. And so we'll read that when they met each other, this emotions was awakened, both in Ramananda Roy and Mahaprabhu. Similarly, we were just talking about, it was brought up about who Nityananda's guru was. And in the Chaitanya Bhagavat and pastimes, when he met Madhavendra Puri, Nityananda, this same thing, these emotions awoken in both of them. And they both cried, they held each other, they rolled on the ground. All these 8 ecstatic symptoms manifested in both their bodies. So it's described as highly likely that he was a disciple of Lakshmipati. Okay, so in the Madhya Lila chapter 8, text 23, it describes that their natural love for each other was awakened in them both, and they embraced each other and fell on the ground. This is when Mahaprabhu and Ramananda Roy first saw each other. So Prabhupada's purport, he says that Sri Ramananda Roy was an incarnation of the Gopi Vishaka. Since Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was Lord Krishna himself, there was naturally an awakening of love between Vishaka and Krishna. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the combination of Srimati Radharani and Krishna. And the Gopi Vishaka is a principal Gopi assisting Srimati Radharani. Thus the natural love between Ramananda Roy and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu awakened, and they embraced. So we have an example here of Lord Chaitanya being both Radharani and Krishna. And these Paranama Shaktis, these expansions of Krishna and these 8 expansions of Radharani, they also can manifest these same, and apparently they can combine moods and manifest in these pure devotees. So Ramananda Roy is one of the 3 most confidential associates of Lord Chaitanya, most intimate. So in the Anjalita, chapter 2, text 105 and through 106, describes that Lord accepted Sikhi Mahiti's sister as one of Radha's friends. In the entire world, there are only 3.5 devotees who were so worthy. They were Swarup Damodar Goswami, Ramananda Roy, and Sikhi Mahiti. His sister was the half-person. This is because he had a limited relationship with her. He couldn't have the same relationship because he wouldn't talk with her, but obviously we see here that she was an associate of Radharani, well qualified to hear these very intimate topics. And therefore, I'm sure she shared those with some of her very close friends. So how this gets disseminated, and similarly, it's passed down to all of us. So Ramananda's social status, it says, describes that Ramananda Roy's father was named Bhavananda Roy. He was born in a family of the Arisan Karana caste, an administrative clan like the Kayathas. He was previously King Pandu. He had 5 sons, of whom Ramananda was the oldest. The other 4 brothers were Gopinath Patnayaka, Kalanidhi, Sundhanidhi, and Vaninath Patanakya. One of these, I think, was put up on the Chuck Gopinath, yeah. And it was threatened with punishment. You know, he made fun of the king's prince. He overspent money, and then he made fun of him because I guess the prince's son had some kind of twitch or something. And so, yeah, so he related to him as a horse. He criticized, he made fun of him, and yeah. So anyway, move on. So the Lord states that in Chaitanya Charitamrita, you are Pandu himself, and your wife is Kunti. Your 5 sons are the Pandavas. That's in chapter 10 of Madhya Lila. text 53. So he has Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya first tells Lord Chaitanya about Ramananda Roy. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted a renounced sort of life on the month of Magh. It's January, February. In Chaitanya Bhagavat Majjhikanta, it described that around January 14th or 15th, he announced that I'm going to take sannyas. So 12 days later after that is when he actually left and went to Santipur, and then he went to Katwa to take sannyas. So then he went to Jagannath Puri. After that, February, Palguna, February through March, and he saw the Dol Yatra festival, and then he liberated Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya on the month of Chaitra, that's March and April. And then during the month of Vaisakha, which is April, May, he began this tour of South India. And then, of course, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya tells him that he meets. So that's Madhya Lila, chapter 7, text 61, 67. As Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was departing, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya submitted the following at his lotus feet. My Lord, you must fulfill this request of mine. In the town of Vidyanarga, on the bank of the Godavari, there is a responsible government officer named Ramananda Roy. Please do not neglect him, thinking he belongs to a Sudra family engaged in materialistic activities. Please take my word for it that you should meet him without fail. If anyone is fit to associate with you, it is he. No other devotee can compare with him in knowledge of the divine sentiments. He has attained the highest limits of learning, as well as being experienced in the science of devotional sentiments. If you converse with him, you will recognize his exalted character. When I first met him, I could not understand that everything he said and did were all transcendental. I made fun of him simply because he was a Vaishnav. By your mercy, I can now understand the truth about Ramananda Roy. In talking with him, you also will acknowledge his greatness. So this is how Mayavadis were. They saw Vaishnavas as sentimentalists, just lacking intelligence and understanding what Sambandhana, Abhidheya, and Prayojan was. So you see that there's this big thing between Mayavadis and sannyasis. Mayavadis reject, they're atheists, the form of the Lord is permanent. So the Lord left, traveled through a few holy places. When he got to Godavari River, which was his vision, which in his vision was the Yamuna, and the woods on its banks Vrindavan, he joyfully crossed the river and came to the place known as Kabura, where he bathed in the river, hoping to meet Ramananda Roy. Coming out of the water, he sat down and waited for him. At that same time, Ramananda Roy passed by with a fanfare. When he saw Mahaprabhu's supernatural form, he descended from his palanquin and paid his obeisances to the Lord. Though Mahaprabhu recognized him, he asked him to identify himself. Ramananda replied that he was nothing but a lowly Sudra servant. When the Lord heard him speak in this humble manner, he immediately embraced him. Both the Lord and his servant felt the onslaught of divine motions, and both experienced the 8 ecstatic transformations of prema. The Brahmins who were accompanying Ramananda were astonished to see such a display. They thought, this sannyasi is as effulgent as the Brahmajyoti. Why is he crying while embracing this Sudra? The governor Ramananda is a scholar and normally very serious. Why has he become so emotional upon being touched by this sannyasi, as though intoxicated? We're in now chapter 8, that's 26 through 27. Seeing that there were outsiders present, the Lord controlled his emotions and told Ramananda that he had been told by Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya to seek him out. Ramananda replied with humility, "This is the proof of your mercy." To Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, "You have touched me, an untouchable, simply due to his love for you. What a difference exists between us. You are the Supreme Lord Narayan himself, and I, a government servant interested in materialist activities. Indeed, I am the lowest amongst men of the fourth caste. Even so, you are not contemptuous in my touch. Neither did you fear the Vedic injunctions which forbid one to even look upon a Sudra. Your mercy makes you touch me, even though this activity is condemned by Scripture and society. Who can understand your intention? For you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself." That's text 34 through 37. The Lord said, "You are a great devotee. Indeed, you are the best amongst them. All those who behold you are immediately affected by that, immediately affected so that their hearts melt. What to speak of others? I am a Mayavadi sannyasi, yet I feel the onset of Krishna prem when I touch you." That's text 44 and 45. So then their conversation begins. They go, that evening they depart and they take care of things, and then the next morning Ramananda comes back, and then they begin their discussions. So Gauranga is like an ocean of truth. He filled the cloud, named Ramananda, with the nectar of the purest conclusions of devotion to himself. Ramananda then rained down that same nectar on the very ocean from which it came, producing jewels of transcendental knowledge. That's actually the very first text of the chapter 8. It starts off that's, and then they get into the other things we discussed. So the next evening, Sri Ramananda Roy visited Mahaprabhu and paid obeisances. Mahaprabhu fondly embraced him and began questioning him. It's like when he took sannyas, he whispered the sannyas mantra in the ear of Keshava Bharati. And then, is this the correct mantra? But he actually initiated him, and then he got the mantra back. I'm sorry? I'm just referring back to when he took sannyas. I don't know exactly what that was back in. So similarly, they're the same reference he's trying to, that he first showered him. So Mahaprabhu, they embraced each other, and they began, so we're going to start on text 57, just to, we're not going to read all those initial questions. Basically, that he rejects the first set of questions. So Mahaprabhu asked Ramananda Roy to explain to him with evidence from the scriptures the ultimate goal of life. Ramananda started his response by explaining that devotion to Vishnu is the ultimate aim of human achievement, or sadhya. At one point, so he answered a bunch of questions, and Lord Chaitanya rejected them as being like whether varnashram is so important, but he all these were external. He didn't accept those. But at one point, Ramananda Roy finally answered Mahaprabhu, saying, pure devotional service, without any tinge of speculation, speculative knowledge, jnana, sunya bhakti, is the means to achieve the supreme protection. Mahaprabhu finally accepted his conclusion. From this point on, Mahaprabhu's teachings actually began. So I'm just really summarizing these questions and answers. We're going to go through about 10, 15 of them. What is the best education among all kinds of learning? And the answer is devotion to Krishna is by far the best learning. So Lord Chaitanya is questioning Ramananda Roy. What is the achievement of a living being? The answer, the best glory is to take the post of a servant of Radha and Krishna. What is the best religion for a living being? Love for Radha Govinda is the best religion. What creature suffers the most? A devotee who is suffering due to separation of the Lord. Who is the most liberated person? One who loves Krishna is the most renounced person. What is the best song? Songs about the pastimes of Radha and Krishna. What is the greatest well-being for a living entity? To associate with Krishna's devotees. What is the only thing to remember? Krishna's name, his beauty, and his qualities. What is the only object of meditation? The lotus feet of Radha Govinda. Which is the best place for a living entity to reside? The place where Krishna's pastimes are enacted. What is the best thing to hear? The loving pastimes of Radha Govinda. What is the only subject matter for a living entity to sing? The name of Radha Govinda. What is the fate of a person who has worldly desires and a man who desires liberation? One gets an animate body and the other gets a celestial body. What are the characteristics of a devotee and of a knowledgeable person? A so-called intelligent person who is like a crow eats the fruits of wisdom from the bitter nim tree, whereas a devotee is a cuckoo who drinks the nectar of love. So in conclusion, he says, first I saw you as an ordinary sannyasi. Now I see that you are actually a dark-skinned cowherd boy. I see a golden puppet standing in front of you. Its golden effulgence covers your body. And that's the Chaitanya Charitamrita, 268, 269. So from 57, we kind of accelerated through that. It's a very long section. So described, they remained together for 10 days, enjoying discussions of Krishna conscious topics. Before Mahaprabhu continued on his southern pilgrimage, he asked Ramananda to abandon his involvement with the government service and join him in Puri when he returned. Now, Madhya 282, Lord Krishna is the reservoir of all pleasure, and Srimati Radharani is the personification of ecstatic love. These two forms have combined as one in Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This being the case, Lord Chaitanya revealed his form to Ramananda Roy. So he set to see is actually who Chaitanya was. He manifested those separate forms of Krishna and Ramananda and Srimati Radharani. He had previously, numerous times he had, like Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he revealed his Satbhuj form. At one point he showed him his universal form. And he started out with Srivas Thakur, showing him the form of the Shringadev, Murari Gupti, the form of Varaha, and so progressively he revealed himself to his very intimate devotees. But he showed himself as Krishna and Radharani. So he eventually comes to Puri. So when the king heard that Ramananda wished to return to Puri in order to be close to Mahaprabhu, he was quite happy to grant him permission. This is a little bit different than what Sukadeva and Rupa Goswami. The king was a Muslim. This is a pious king. King Prataparuja was pious and also very attached to Lord Chaitanya too. So a completely different consciousness. He allowed him to leave his duties in the government and continue to pay him a pension. Thus Ramananda first met with the king in Chutak and then in Puri, before going to Kashi Mishra's home to meet with Lord Krishna himself. Ramananda knew just how eager the king was to encounter Mahaprabhu. But rather than bringing up the matter directly, he simply glorified the king, telling Mahaprabhu how much faith he had in him, how deep was his devotion to Krishna, and how kind he had been to free Ramananda from his governmental duties. so that he could serve the Lord directly. By recounting the king's virtues in this way, he was able to melt the Lord's resolve. So it's kind of pretty good strategy of trying to, because we know the past time that Lord Chaitanya had no way he was going to meet with the king. Just the principles was of a sannyasi that they would not do that. It was very important for him to uphold those principles. But they, through this strategy, they were able to break him down. So appreciating Rupa Goswami's writing. So this is Rupa Goswami's second meeting with the Lord. We're in Chaitanya, we're reading about Sanatana Goswamis, but eventually Rupa goes to Vrindavan and then comes back to Puri. So we're Achalila 1, text 78. That very personality who stole my heart during my youth is now again my master. These are the same moonlit nights of the month of Chaitra. The same fragrance of the malati flowers is there. And the same sweet breezes are blowing from the Kadamba forest. And our intimate relationship, I am also the same lover, yet still my mind is not happy here. I am eager to go back to that place on the bank of the Vreva under the Vetasi tree. That is my desire. So Lord Chaitanya quotes this verse during the Rath Yatra. And very confidential, but Rupa Goswami understands the meaning of this verse. And so he writes a verse pretty much similar to that verse. He says, my dear friend, now I've met my very old and dear friend Krishna on this field of Kurukshetra. I am the same Radharani, and now we are meeting together. It is very pleasant, but I would like to go to the bank of the Yamuna beneath the trees of the forest there. I wish to hear the vibration of his sweet flute playing the fifth note within that forest of Vrindavan. So he writes this verse and he sticks it somewhere up into his the roof, and he goes off to take his bath. And so Lord Chaitanya comes there regularly to meet with him and Haridas Thakur. Daily he comes. And he finds this note. You can't hide it from Lord Chaitanya. He tags it, he reads it, and when Rupa Goswami returns, he affectionately slaps him. And he says, how can you understand my heart? How did you know my mind? And then he embraces Rupa Goswami. And he showed it to Swarup Damodar. And Swarup Damodar said that this is only because you have bestowed your mercy upon him could he write such a thing. So after Chaturmasha, this 4 months of the rainy season, all the Vaishnava Bengalis returned, but Rupa Goswami stayed in Puri. And then we're up at text 94, describes that one day Rupa Goswami was writing his book and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu suddenly appeared. The Lord inquired, what kind of book are you writing? And he held up a palm leaf that was a page from the manuscript, and when he saw the fine writing, his mind was very pleased. Thus being pleased, the Lord praised the writing by saying, the handwriting of Rupa Goswami are just like a string of pearls. He must have had very good penmanship. While reading the manuscript, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw a verse on that page, and as soon as he read it, he was overwhelmed by ecstatic love. Text 199, I do not know how much nectar the two syllables Krishna have produced. When the holy name of Krishna is chanted, it appears to dance within the mouth. When we then desire many, many mouths. When that name enters the holes of the ear, we desire many millions of ears. And when the holy name dances in the courtyard of the heart, it conquers the activities of the mind. And therefore, all the senses become inert. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu chanted this verse, Haridas Thakur, upon hearing the vibration, became jubilant and began to dance while praising its meaning. On the next day, after visiting the temple of Jagannath as usual, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu met Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and Ramananda Roy and Sarup Damodari, and they all went together to Sri Rupa Goswami, to see Sri Rupa Goswami. And along the way, the Lord praised him with all good qualities. 113, Sarup Damodar Goswami recited the previous verse that he recited at 179, text 79. This is the first chapter. My dear friend, now I've met the very old and dear friend Krishna on this field of Kurukshetra. I am the same Radharani, and now we are meeting together. It is very pleasant. But I would still like to go to the bank of the Yamuna, beneath the trees of the forest there, and wish to hear the vibration of his sweet flute playing the fifth note within the forest of Vrindavan. Sri Ramananda Roy said, previously, you empowered my heart so that I could express elevated and conclusive statements to which even Lord Brahma has no access. Had you not previously bestowed your mercy on Rupa Goswami, Ramananda Roy continued, it would not have been possible for him to express your internal feelings. Lord Chaitanya asked Rupa Goswami to chant another verse, and he chanted the same one that he read to the Lord. I do not know how much nectar the two syllables Krishna have produced. When the holy name of Krishna is chanted, it appears to dance within the mouth. We then desire many, many mouths. When the name enters the holes of the ears, we desire many millions of ears. And when the holy name dances on the courtyard of the heart, it conquers the activities of the mind. Therefore, all the senses become inert. So Ramananda Roy began to question Rupa Goswami about his book. It describes that Rupa Manjari is the follower of the Sakis Lalita and Vishaka, who are non-different from Ramananda Roy. Rupa Goswami discussed the subject of his two plays, Lalita Madhava and Vidagdha Madhava, with Ramananda. When Ramananda asked to hear a verse about the plays, they were in text 129, Ramananda Roy said, now please recite the description of the glories of your worshipful deity. Rupa Goswami, however, hesitated due to embarrassment because Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was present. This worshipful deity is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And this is one of the first, maybe I think text 2 of his book. So he says, text 132, may the Supreme Lord, who is known as the son of Srimati Sachi Devi, be transcendently situated in the innermost core of your heart, resplendent with the radiance of molten gold. He has ascended in the age of Kali by his causeless mercy to bestow what no incarnation has ever offered before, the most elevated mellow of devotional service, the mellow of conjugal love. When Ramananda heard this verse, he began to praise Rupa Goswami with what seemed to be like 1,000 tongues. He said that Rupa could only have written such an accurate portrayal of such difficult concepts as a result of the Lord's mercy. So we'll talk a little bit about his, maybe we'll get to this. Pradyumna Mishra meets with Ramananda Roy. It's another very interesting pastime. And we're in the Anshul Text, chapter 5, text 35 through 42. In order to reveal the extent of his transcendental character and identity, Maharaj sent Pradyumna Mishra, who was born in an upper-class Brahmin family, to Ramananda to be instructed. Even though Ramananda was not of such high caste, Pradyumna Mishra was born in Suyat, but later made his permanent home in Orissa. He came one day to Mahaprabhu asking to hear about Hari Katha, Mahaprabhu replied with great humility that he was not qualified to speak on elevated matters of sacred rapture and sent him to meet Ramananda Roy. At that time, Ramananda Roy was in the Jagannath Vallabha Gardens, engaged in preparing 2 young Devidasis for a play, which was to be given before Lord Jagannath. Not only was he training them in the songs that they would sing and the dance they would perform, but also bathing, dressing, and decorating them. The first time that Pradyumna Mishra came to see Ramananda, one of Ramananda's servants told him that he was busy doing his work and asked Mishra to sit outside and wait. None of Ramananda Roy's servants dared to interrupt him while he was busy preparing the performance, which was to be given before Lord Jagannath. Only after he had finished the rehearsal and came outside did he learn that Pradyumna Mishra had come to hear about Krishna from him. Ramananda showed the Brahmin the appropriate respect and begged forgiveness for the long delay. Mishra realized that it was too late that day for his wish to be fulfilled, and he returned home. Some days later, when Mahaprabhu saw Mishra, he asked him how the meeting with Ramananda had gone and what topics they had discussed. Pradyumna Mishra told him everything that had happened and told the Lord that some doubts had arisen in his mind about Ramananda's activities. The Lord immediately took steps to erase these doubts from the Brahmin's mind. He began to glorify Ramananda's extraordinary character with force. He said, "I am a sannyasi, and I consider myself to be renounced. But even if I even hear the name of a woman, what to speak of seeing one, I feel an effect on my mind and body. So who is not moved by the sight of a woman? Everyone listen to me. Let me tell you about Ramananda Roy. Although they are so wonderful and uncommon, they really cannot be properly described. He personally serves Jagannath's youth and beautiful Devidasis in every possible way. He personally bathes and dresses them and decorates them with ornaments. While doing so, he naturally sees and touches the private parts of their body. But even so, his mind is never affected. He teaches the girls how to physically express all the moods of love to be acted out before Lord Jagannath. But his mind and body are as steady as wood or stone. Indeed, it is amazing that even when he touches such young girls, his mind is not disturbed. Only Ramananda has the right to do such things. And seeing him do them, I can understand that his body is not material, but completely transformed into a spiritual identity. So I guess we're not going to get through all of it. So the final so there's more, but the final days of Lord Chaitanya were spent intimately. Actually, I got a couple more pages, but we're not going to get. These were all with Ramananda and Swarup Damodar, spent very closely with Lord Chaitanya. And when we know that this time that Lord Chaitanya was feeling all these ecstatic symptoms, completely losing himself, and transforming his different bodies. And so it was Ramananda and Swarup Damodar who would calm him down and bring him back to external consciousness. Okay, all glories to Ramananda Roy. Haribol.
Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami
Bhagavatam Bhagavatam Samasitam Buddha Sundarangam Kandar Agom Vidamaniya Vishesha Shobha
Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Angani Yasa Sakalen Driya Vriti Manti Pasyanti Panti Kayanti Jiram Naganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadhu Jala Vigrahasya Govindam
Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami
Namo Vishnu Pataya Krishna Prasthaya Putale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Samini Day Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Vacha Nengi Sesha Shunyavati Masya Jagade Satarane Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaurabhakta Vrinda Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaurabhakta Vrinda Chaitanya Brahmanityananda Dvaita Gadada Siva Sati Gauraktapurana Krishna Chaitanya Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Govinda Jaya Jaya, Gopala Jaya Jaya, Radha Ramana Hare Govinda Jaya Jaya.
Govinda Jaya Jaya, Gopala Jaya Jaya, Radha Ramana Hare Govinda Jaya Jaya.
Govinda Jaya Jaya, Gopala Jaya Jaya, Radha Ramana Gaji Govinda Jaya Jaya.
Govinda Jaya Jaya, Gopala Jaya Jaya, Radha Ramana Hare Govinda Jaya Jaya.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram,
Nayad, Agalokinana, Agalokinana, Dragate. Nayad, Agalokinana, Agalokinana, Dragate. Nayad, hey, Nare, Nare, Nayaragate. Radhe, Radhe, Jaya Radhe. Jaya Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe. Jai Om Vishnu Pad.
Chaitatarpana marjanam bhavamahadagni nirvapanam Shreya Kairavya Chandrika Vitaranam Vidyavadu Jivanam Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam Pratipanam Purnamrita Swadanam Sarvatma Snapanam Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Nam Namakari Bahudani Jasarva Shaktis Tatra Pitana Mamita Smarane Nakala Etad Rishita Vakriba Bhagavan Mamapi Durdaiva Midrishami Hajjani Nanuraga Trinada Pi Sunichena Tarora Pi Suhishuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari Najaram Najanam Nasundarim Kavitam Vajagadisha Kamaye Mama Janmani Janmani Ishvare Bhavatad Bhakti Arvaitaki Tvai Ainanda Tanuja Kinkaram Bhatitam Mam Vishame Bhavam Buddha Kribayata Vabada Pankaja Stita Duli Sajashim Vachintaya Nainam Garashu Daraya Varanam Gad Gadivradaya Gira Pulakarnishitam Vabhukada Tava Namagrahane Bhavishyati Yugayatam Namishena Chakshusha Bhavashayatam Shunayatam Jagat Sarvam Govindam Virahename Ashlishyavapadamritam Anastumam Adarshanam Marma Hato Karotuva Yatatatava Vidadatu Lampato Mat Prananatas Sa Eva Napara. Victory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life, of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss, and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. My Lord. A congregational chanting of your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings